Astrea going up against Spirit. I think this is going to be a very interesting one. Just about 2.5 weeks ago, these two faced off against one another in a best of 7. At the time, it was Spirit obtaining the victory 4-0, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was the man right here in the bottom right corner hiding some strategies. From the United States of America, we have Astrea.
And as Mixie said, in the top left side, we're looking at the main base of the man who was part of the round of 24 last year, and he's done it again this year. He made his way through that open bracket. Hailing from Poland, it's Kaizi Gaming's Spirit.
The Polish crowd, of course, cheering him on. We have Elaser also moving on, who we will be seeing as well later. Anyhow, I'm curious to see what we're going to see in this particular series. Now, I know for a fact that over the last couple of weeks, Astrea has been participating in a couple of smaller online tournaments here and there, but in quite a few of them, he's been playing a random. So I wouldn't be surprised if, well, the times he did get Protoss, that he's just been hiding his strategies to the best of his abilities, because he is always the man with a plan, right? He's certainly not afraid to play something a little bit unorthodox. Yeah, do you have any expectations as far as strategies go?
I think it's very map dependent. Obviously, game 1 here is being played on Dragon Skills, which I think is one of the more standard maps that we currently have. It's obviously not ultra big, but it's also not that small that you really have to worry about some of these crazy early all-ins. Wouldn't be surprised if this is just going to be Twilight Council, Blink Stalkers, and we take it from there. And I think Stargate is maybe slightly better than some of these other maps, but we saw him yesterday have a tendency to go Stargate, and I don't think that the Phoenix play was bad at all against Gumio. He just got a little bit unlucky. He technically had a great start on this map where he did open up with the Phoenixes. He just didn't expect that double drop of the Marines to hit as quickly as it did, and there's a good chance that in this game he's actually going to build a pylon in the corner of his main, because if those Marines wouldn't have killed 20 probes, I really refuse to believe that Astrea would have lost that first game at all. So I don't think we're going to see the crazy War Prism +1 adapts trying to one-shot workers, which was very cool, but it's not something you can bust out over and over again. So I think it's going to be a bit more straightforward here in the first game, because I also think that Astrea will look at Spirit and says, I know you're very good, but I actually believe that I can win this series.
Yeah. No, I would not be surprised at all if he's going to be playing a normal game right here to start things off. Astrea, over the last couple of years, really making a name for himself as one of the very best foreign Protoss players. And honestly, maybe one of the very best Protoss players in the world overall. That being said, no tech structure just yet. There we go at the Twilight Council. Not all too surprising here, of course. We'll probably see him go straight into that Blink upgrade, and yeah, that will allow him to put on a little bit of pressure on his Terran opponent. That Reaper ready to get shot at, was just waiting for a second, but it is indeed going to be pushed back.
Obviously, it's nice to keep your Reaper alive. We saw it yesterday in one of the games that Big Game played, where sometimes losing your Reaper early could be devastating. Now, this will never play out in a similar manner, because enough time has gone by. So even if this Reaper would fall, which it doesn't yet, it wouldn't be all that bad. But the bigger problem for Spirit is that he hasn't scouted yet, Loco. And as a Terran player, you really want to figure out what kind of tech there is on the other side of the map as quickly as possible. And at this point, he simply does not know. His Adept is still being annoying, and obviously getting shots off on Hellions feels really good as a Protoss, because that Reaper might regenerate, but the Hellions, the only thing you can do is repair, but you don't really want to spend SCVs to repair Hellions in this phase in the game. It's going to be Cloak Banshees, by the way, so it's a 4 Hellion into a Cloak Banshee opening here for Spirit, but the Robo has already been warped in. I have the feeling that Astrea should be fine against this.
Yeah, at this point, Spirit doesn't really know exactly what he's playing against, so he has to be worried about things like, for example, Oracles as well. There's going to be a little bit of a hallucinated Phoenix Scout right there coming out of the American Protoss player. He's now going to warp in some additional Stalkers as well. Hellions trying to get in. Does not have enough energy for a force field, so they're actually just going to drive straight into the main base. He does snipe that last one.
Which is a very big deal, because 3 Hellions would one-shot the workers, but 2 Hellions simply don't. A couple of probes will still fall, but overall I thought the initial defense was very good. I mean, this is still 4 Hellions and a Reaper for only 5 probes, and on top of that, Astrea should have had the picture-perfect scout on the other side of the map, so we should have an observer ready by the time that the Banshee shows up.
Oh, now he knows.
He's going to double check to see if the tech lab is still spinning, and it is. Astrea, all we need to do right now is fire up an observer as soon as we have the gas, and then I honestly think he's in a very good spot, and of course he's got the confidence right now to go up to 3 bases.
Yeah, third Nexus goes down. There's going to be Stalkers waiting here. Observer is getting Chrono boosted out. It's going to be very close, but he will finish that up as the Banshee arrives on the other side of the map. So really good start here for Astrea. Yes, he lost a couple of workers, but it was rather expensive for the Terran as well. That said, he's got the units, but they're not in the right place.
Nope, and that's honestly a bit painful, and the battery is late as well. This Banshee showing up a little bit earlier than Astrea expected it to show up. Observer is going to make his way over, but this is actually a lot of damage now, adding on top of the initial 5 probes. It may seem like only 3 probes, but it's a lot of lost mining time. Obviously, with the build that Spirit has gone for, you force Astrea to get multiple observers. And now it's going to take a little while before his army gets a whole lot better. Spirit is dropping a 3rd CC on the other side of the map, and I honestly think that's kind of good for Astrea, because I feel like he has been taking a decent amount of damage at this point. That's a nice blink though. Can he get one of the Banshees? Does not get it yet, and it opens the door for Banshee number 2 on the left side to get another additional probe. Spirit is finding some success with his opening.
Yeah, he was 1 Stalker short right there to be able to pick that one off. Looks like one of the Stalkers did get a confirmed kill right there. Marina's going to be pushed back too. Now he only has to worry about this unit here, hanging out in this little bit of dead space, trying to find the golden location.
I think Stalkers can always shoot it,
I was going to say, I don't think there is one, right? Where you can actually scoot right there in the perfect position. Either way, nice little location right here for that probe as well.
Yep.
Raven's actually just going to halt here for a moment. It's like, hey, what's that? What's that glowy thing?
That is a great scout here for Astrea, because otherwise you could end up losing a couple of additional probes to a single auto turret going down. The work account right now is not looking all that hot for Astrea, just because he has been losing a few probes here and there, and it's been adding up. And on top of that, he was forced to pull the probes a couple of times, but he knows he's got some time right now because of this one observer that's on the other side of the map, as we are taking a look at the first-person view of Astrea, where at this point I think we're just going to see him build a whole lot of probes, pylons, gateways, and eventually spam a lot of zealots.
Exactly. That 3rd command center you brought up, it's finishing up right now. Orbital command is coming up as well for the Terran player while we're looking at the first-person view. I know a lot of people are big fans of the first-person view, myself included. It looks amazing.
Production tab doesn't look super impressive for Astrea because it doesn't have a forge yet. Only now we want
about that Robo Bay? Yeah,
that's cool, but it's obviously not that quick. So he's basically saying, I'm going to try to get an advantage with a lot of Zealots and a lot of Stalkers, but I kind of feel that Zealots really need upgrades, man. Especially with the armory finishing up, we're going to have a bunch of Wither Mines in the mix. These Wither Mines are going to be permanently cloaked. There is still that Raven. Raven could reveal observers. If Astrea loses an observer here, he'd be in serious trouble, because that's the only observer he's got out and about on the map at the moment. But with the amount of gateways he has, Zealots, upgrades or not, can obviously find a lot of success against SCVs.
Okay, here we go. Zealot drop in the main base. Units are, however, in the right place at the right time. In the meantime, there's also a Widow Mine drop happening inside of the main base of our Protoss player. How many workers will that kill? Well, at the very least, not the best detonation.
This orbital is going to go down. Spirit is not repairing this orbital at all. I'm not exactly sure what he's doing with his main army. There is a single tank just shooting at a couple of units, but Spirit has sent the majority of his forces into the main base. He is now even, in all panic and all chaos, fired up a Reaper. That's obviously a mistake, but you don't often see Protoss players get a very casual snipe on an orbital command. This Widow Mine could potentially fire again, though. Did we recall and observe the army? It's so close, but man, the timing on that one is crazy.
What about the one in the natural though? Okay, that one also does get cleaned up just barely in time right there. Spirit not getting that much damage done, and losing that CC is incredibly painful here.
Yeah, I don't think that was ever supposed to happen. I don't think that Spirit expected that to happen. There were no SUVs making their way towards the edge of the main base to get some clutch repair in, and the Stalker count wasn't even crazy high. Astrea did not have the kind of army to one-shot an orbital, but it just kind of happened. There were a lot of things happening. Spirit feels that he's forced to pull the boys right now. He's going to try to take this fight before the Colossus are out, but even if the Colossus comes out, we still have that Raven in the mix, and it could drop a very important interference matrix.
Yeah, he's pushing forward right now with basically all the units that he got. He does manage to snipe down that Nexus, and that is nice, but is there enough right here for the Terran player to clean all of this up? Well, his army is looking huge, just not a lot of health anymore.
Nope, and not too much energy on that one medevac either. That Colossus is now doing its thing. I don't think that Spirit is going to be able to end the game here, but he did take out the base, and yes, he pulled a lot of SCVs, but on top of that, he did rebuild the 3rd base as well. So now the tables have kind of turned, where Astrea is the 2-base player, and Spirit will eventually be the 3-base player again, but if he would end up losing all these Marauders, and it seems that that is going to happen, that'd be painful. At least he gets a couple of Stalkers. I do think the decision to unload there was wise. Otherwise, he would have just lost everything for free. Spirit needs a bunker or two. Exactly, he's going to slap down a bunker immediately. But Astrea is obviously going to try to bounce now with the army advantage he has created for himself.
Yeah, the Prism ended up going down to that Viking earlier, so he does not have an easy way to reinforce this. He's still going to try and poke right here at the front, see if he can get some sort of damage done. Some lasers at the supply depot is nice. Good EMP right there, though, to soften up that entire Protoss army.
Yeah,
those ghosts have been sick.
It's sick as well because it also triggers the barrier on the Immortal. And the Immortal would be the problem for the Marauders, but now this Immortal would actually go down rather quickly. And the moment that that Immortal falls, the rest of the army is not going to do very well against 7 or 8 Marauders. And Astrea knows that. That's why he's warped in a bunch of sentries that have made it to the other side of the map. That one observer is still revealing these Widow Mines on the left. But I love how patient Spirit is here. This is beautiful play, but he is going to have to battle a lot of force fields, Loco.
Yeah, he needs to pull the trigger here at some point. Apparently lifting the command center is going to be the start of that. A couple of force fields on the retreat. Astrea trying to get as much damage, though, done with the army that he's got. And honestly, that fight was excellent.
Yeah, honestly, very high level play here by both players. Astrea's buying time for his own Nexus to finish up on the other side of the map, but Astrea also needs to be careful. He's not able to lose all these units. The Immortal did get its barrier again, but the Immortal falls and the rest of the army is not good against Marauders. Spirit knows it. He stims forward, gets on top of the Colossus. Can he get it? Yes, he does. The Giraffe goes down, and these Stalkers by themselves, they don't want to battle too long with these Marauders.
Yeah, that Prism showing up just like 4 seconds too late right there for Astrea. That causes him to lose some of his very high value units, and immediately Spirit queues up a couple of medevac drops, and he, well, catches the beautiful move right here from Astrea as he just grabs like 30 army supply for free.
What is happening in this game? Just when you think that Spirit has done it and has created a very good position for himself, he loses 3 medevacs full of bio. He still has a couple of other units finding some success right now on the bottom left side, but this army is tiny. That was basically the entire army of Spirit. This game is just wild, man, because we're now 12 minutes in and Astrea still does not have a single upgrade, which just goes to show how much these guys have been fighting and battling.
So now suddenly, both players have, have a third base up and running, right? We've gotten there in a very strange way, but we'll see exactly how this is going to play out. There's a lot of energy available in that Nexus, but of course a lot of things to manage here at once as well.
That's insane. I cannot believe that he found 3 medevacs
that's crazy.
Units. I think there was an observer, right, still chilling at the 12 o'clock position, so that observer saw these medevacs. As this medevac passes the Warp Prism, and it's like, all right, good luck to you guys. Yeah, same. Let's see who gets more work.
I'm assuming that Viking from earlier, it's still around, so he can try and get some damage done. Maybe it's a different one, but either way, he's going to be able to intercept that Prism relatively easily. Both players needing a little bit of time to think here as well, right?
Yeah, obviously, Spirit is a bit terrified. He's like, all right, I tried to get a good drop going. And the moment that I queued up the drop, I've lost like over 25 supply in the blink of an eye, or the blink of a Stalker. Oh my god, the medevac and the Warp Prism.
Yeah, they've been chasing each other for a while, man.
Yeah, they've
been interacting. Okay, we don't mind trying to get some damage in, but probably won't get too much. That being said, for the people that are watching this live from the audience, apparently there's currently a signing session going on featuring both Maru and Björn, if I'm not mistaken. So if you guys want to go grab their autographs, make sure to head on over. Oh, as we have this Prism, man. We have seen so many units die in this game randomly. I thought for a second the Prism was going to go down.
Yep, the Viking count isn't that high, as we do land an EMP on these Colossus, soften up the shields a little bit, but I think it's very difficult for Spirit to run into these Colossus if he doesn't have a couple of Vikings in the mix. Like, yes, Marauders are great, but right now we have a decent amount of Zealots to protect these Colossus. As the Warp Prism feels that this is the moment to go to the other side of the map, seems like he unloaded 1 Zealot to run into the 3rd base. Astrea has always been a great player when it comes down to harass. Maybe recall the Prism.
Widowmine drop going down at the 3rd Nexus in the meantime. No reaction here from the American, and he's going to end up losing 15 probes.
Actually, I think no reaction would have been better than trying to split them at the last moment, because it actually forced a lot of these probes to clump up in the end. Losing 15 workers is painful. This is just a very scrappy game. We're 14 minutes in, and it's 47 workers against 43. Normally, we're looking at 80 plus in a 14-minute game.
Yeah, if this is going to set the tone for what all the games are going to be like today, I think we should be in for a treat. Keep in mind, this is only the very first match of a full day of StarCraft 2. Both players, though, do know where each other are, so he's going to engage once again. Astrea, that is. What do you feel about that choke point?
Wait, we have extended thermal lens, though, right? Do we? Oh my goodness.
Oh, he never got it?
I was like, why are these Colossus not firing? But Astrea has no extended thermal lens. This game has been so scrappy and so hectic that he forgot the most important upgrade. He's absolutely going to find out by the time that these units fight. And eventually he's going to be like, why are my Colossus not cleaning up these Wither Mines the way I'm supposed to be cleaning up these Wither Mines? EMPs go down, but Colossus without thermal lens are nowhere near as good as Colossus with thermal lens. War Prism falls and Spirit gets an absolutely fantastic fight. And I think at this point Astrea knows, but it is too late. He forgot arguably the most important upgrade in the game for him at this point.
Yeah, you could see him trying to engage right there, walking those Colossi further and further forward, because obviously they were given that attack move command. And Spirit just immediately pounced on that opportunity. Now landing the Vikings as well as he's ready to strike the killing blow. Disruptors are coming up. One of them is already out, so maybe Astrea can pull a rabbit out of a hat, but he needs to be, it needs to be a big connection.
Needs to be a very big rabbit to make that.
Yeah.
After losing the
very
entire
small
army and losing 4 Colossus, we're going to try to make some magic happen with 1 Nova, a couple of Stalkers, a couple of Zealots, but the Stalkers and Zealots have no armor upgrades, which means that they will melt against +2 bio. It seems that the man from Poland will get a very important 1-0 lead here after Dragon Skills. That honestly was a super scrappy and hectic game, but so painful for Astrea that he forgot the extended thermal lens upgrade.
Yeah, he had money in the bank to go ahead and do so. You would have definitely done so, well, probably around the time you should make the second Colossus, right? He was a 1 Colossus for a very long time, and yeah, small mistakes can have big results in a game of StarCraft 2. Spirit playing like a champ though, really well done there. I mean, obviously he ended up losing that command center at the 3rd. That was, yeah, not the option you're looking for there as a Terran player, but
yeah, there were 3 fights happening at that point, right? Because obviously there was a War Prism in the main base.
Yeah.
I think there was a tiny run by in the natural. Then the main army of Astrea was trying to pounce on that orbital successfully.
And a Widow Mine drop.
Yeah, but Spirit was also indeed dropping Widow Mines on the other side of the map, and not just in the main base of Astrea, but he was also going into the natural. So there are 4 or 5 things to take care of at that point. And that is honestly also why Astrea forgot that upgrade in the first place. Because he got enough time to get that Colossus out afterwards when he's like, okay, this counterattack is scary, I need to chrono boost out the Colossus. Cannot invest in an upgrade right now. So they had that crazy fight where he lost the Nexus, but did kill 13 SCVs, and then he's chasing the army again, and the game just goes on and on. But there were so many things happening that he did not have that split moment where he's like, what should I do? Let's go ahead and take a look at all the upgrades. And there were definitely a few moments where I was surprised. I was like, why is the Colossus not firing? But I was like, whatever. But the moment we got up to 4, I'm like, they're still not firing. Like
when the Colossus eventually just barely did not get picked up by the Colossus, or by the Prism rather, right? When that fight with the Stalkers happened, there were a couple of moments where it was not shooting at the range that it should have been at. Either way, we're loading into game number 2 in this best of 3 series. It's going to be on altitude, a very large map this time around. So we'll see exactly what will end up going down right here. Is in the bottom left-hand corner, you have the man currently 0-1 behind. We have Astrea.
Big game for Max Angel. He really needs to turn things around since he's 0-2 in this group. So is this man, but he has played great. He's had a great run, and he's got to feel good after that scrappy game 1 win. Representing Kaizi Gaming and all of you guys in the audience for Poland, this is Spirit.
Piotr. I'm still impressed. He played that incredible TVT earlier this tournament, right? Where it ended up being a rather frustrating match, and he came to the green room right away after that match ended. And I was impressed by the fact that he kept his head so cool. He did not really seem to be too bothered, even though, well, at least if I would have played it, I would have tilted pretty hard. He had to play more games that day as well. He was like, yeah, made some mistakes, should have won that. It is what it is. And he's ready to perform once again. I think that's really important, right? It's really easy to get in your own head in a game of StarCraft, and it's not what you want in a tournament like this.
It was a painful loss, but it's also a loss that you can be somewhat proud of. Where it's like, hey man, I played against Cure, okay? Cure was probably the best player entering the open bracket, and he pushed Cure to the limit. It was a 5-game series, so of course it sucks if you don't win it, but on the other end, it's like, it's probably a better feeling than getting completely bopped and outplayed 0-3, and you feel like, I don't even belong to this level, right?
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, for a little bit, it almost looked like that was going to be a 3-0 as well, right? That was crazy. In the end, though, Spirit had to fight a little bit harder, but he made it out of that open bracket, or the round of 36.
You briefly touched upon it, but I do find it kind of crazy that once more we have loaded into Altitude, because Altitude is such a big map that I honestly didn't think we're going to see it a whole lot in the best of 3 stage of this tournament. As soon as we enter in the playoffs and everything is going to be a best of 5, I figured that we're going to see it a little bit more, especially in some of the mirror matchups, but I almost have the feeling that a lot of these guys are playing bluff poker with one another, whereas like, I'm not going to veto Altitude because you're veto Altitude, right?
Yeah, it's the same for like Neo Humanity. We've been seeing that one an awful lot. When I first got over at the tournament, I didn't think we were going to see that map all too often, but even in the best of 3s.
Oh, Astrea once more with the super quick forge. So there is a good chance that he's going to try to do the strategy that he busted out against Gumiho yesterday. Or he's going to do something very greedy and go up to 3 bases, which is something that he's done in the past as well. But we're going to keep a close eye on that forge and how quick that +1 is. And I'm going to see if Astrea gets a War Prism. Because for the people who don't watch StarCraft 2 all the time, Adepts need 3 hits to kill either an SCV or a Marine. But if you get +1 on the Forge, Adepts only need 2 hits, which obviously means that if you have 2 Adepts, you one-shot Marines, you one-shot SCVs, and you can actually find a lot of damage. But that is not what it's going to be.
No.
He goes for +1 armor, so then I assume that he's going to go up to 3 bases in like the next 30 seconds as well, and we're going to play a super macro-oriented game.
Yeah, on a map like this, you definitely have that opportunity. With the new multiplayer balance patch, those upgrades in the Forge are a little bit faster. I wonder if that's something that Astrea has been working on as well. I've known a couple of Protoss players that are experimenting with double Forge play and just a variety of Forge styles in general.
We've got 4 Hellions out on the map right now, and then Medevac is on the way. There is a Phoenix flying around, but he's not necessarily
He wants to see right what's coming out, but he's not going to get it.
Obviously, we see there's no tech lab connected to the starport, so you don't have to worry about the Banshee, you don't have to worry about the Raven. And it kind of feels that a Medevac is the only logical
Especially if the Hellions line up right underneath. Makes a lot of sense.
It's actually kind of cool. We have a couple of Widowmines on the way as well. Astrea's getting a cannon right now in his main base, but a cannon is not necessarily great against the Hellions. It will be great in providing some permanent detection against the Cloak Widowmine drop, which is most likely going to be the follow-up. But you cannot assume that your probes are safe because of a cannon. I may not been there a couple of times myself, Loco, but Astrea needs to make damn sure that his gateway units are in the correct spot, because these 4 Hellions have a lot of potential otherwise.
Yeah, how many gateway units does he even have in total at this point? As the Medevac drop does come in, Stalkers were waiting in the natural. Nice little block over there.
Very nice warp.
Yeah,
oh my goodness.
Cannon also getting quite a bit of supplemental damage in, and he lost just 1 worker?
That probe.
Yeah, 1 probe. Yeah.
If he lost a lurker, I'd be terrified.
No, worker.
Got a couple of shots off on the Medevac there, and that's super important as well, because that makes it a little bit harder for Spirit to turn around to show up once more. Hallucinated Phoenix is going to reveal the second Medevac, and more often than not, this Medevac is carrying Widowmines that are obviously permanently cloaked because of the armory. Spirit is going to try one more time with the Hellions. He's going to morph them into Hellbats.
Don't know how I feel about that, because that is now giving Astrea a lot of time. Widowmine drop coming in the same location, which is kind of cute. You can see Astrea splitting up his units all over the place already, but this does result in very minimal worker losses.
Sniping that one Widowmine there that was trying to burrow on top of the ramp is incredibly important. Spirit is not getting a lot done at all. This has been a pretty serious investment. Only 3 workers. Let's not forget that Astrea already has +1 armor. That's something that he didn't have in a 15-minute game on Dragon Skills. Fantastic opening for Astrea. I have no idea how he prevented all of that from doing as little damage as
because that Forge was really quick. I don't know exactly when he started it up, but yeah, he started that before a whole lot of tech.
No, it was 1 gateway Forge.
Yeah, literally, right?
Second gateway.
Yeah, okay. So just a single gateway straight into a Forge, very dangerous opener, but if you don't take a whole lot of damage on the back of it, you can certainly carry that towards a very nice mid-game, and that's exactly what Max Angel here is looking for. Third command center does come up right here for Spirit. Oh, did he just get the sniper right there off the Medevac?
Yep, I think either Spirit tried to get lucky with the Medevac, or he just accidentally F2'd it to the other side of the map, but that Stalker did manage to gun it down. Spirit cannot be happy with this start at all. We look at the worker difference. This is a way bigger advantage than Astrea ever had in that previous game. I'm not sure if I really think sending a single Raven after everything else filled is very smart right now, because this Raven has to be somewhat important. Obviously, defensively, it can be very good too, just to drop a couple of auto turrets against a bunch of Zealots that are flying in, but Spirit probably feels like he needs to do something, but at this point, I think it's too late for single Raven arrest, because Astrea is on 71 workers. Let's say you drop a perfect auto turret, Astrea is not paying attention, you get 3 or 4 probes, but worst case scenario, you lose this Raven and you're even more vulnerable at home, so yeah, I'm not sure if this is ultra smart, but hey, he's getting a couple of probes. It's something.
Colossus follow up here once again, and this time around he queues up the extended thermal lens as the first Colossus starts. That is that upgrade he was missing in the previous game, which gives those Colossus a little bit additional range, and it really affects the way that those big battles in the mid-game happen.
It's a whole lot of range. It makes a night and day difference, especially against the Marauders. Like, Colossi are not great against Marauders, but obviously you've got the range advantage, so you can just shoot from afar. Marauders are not able to fight back, but if you don't have extended thermal lens, then they are pretty much forced to stand in front of them, and that's when these Marauders have a field day with the Colossi.
It's almost like the force fields at that point are helping out the Terran player as well, right? It's so difficult to get a proper engagement in. Yeah, he's going to go for the second forge as well, so he's just going to keep pushing those upgrades. When do you think we're going to see Astrea making a move across the map? Do you think it's going to be before or after he maxes?
Maybe a little bit before, but maybe as soon as he's got like 3 Colossi, thermal lens, warps in a couple of Archons, I think there is a good chance he's going to try to get lucky then. It is obviously very hard to run into a 3-base Terran like Spirit.
Look at the amount of structures he's putting up here as well, right? Trying to just make sure that Protoss army does not get a good engagement in. Sure, you can attack with Zealots, but you're going to have to funnel between all of the structures.
Yeah, it's pretty much worst case scenario for Zealots, because Zealots are really stupid. They're like, oh, bunker, let's go ahead and go for the bunker. It's like, no, kill the tank or something. But Zealots love to go for supply depots and bunkers. That's something that Spirit knows, but Astrea knows it as well. And he's not going too Zealot heavy. And I think that's smart right now. Like, eventually down the line, if we ever get a 4-base scenario, Zealots can be fantastic on this map. Prism in the main base, obviously fantastic too, but you don't just want to max out randomly on like 30 or 40 Zealots, because then you're just going to have a very hard time getting a great fight if both players are ever maxed out. So I think it's smart that we're getting a lot more Robo units, we're getting a couple of Archons, and the Zealots, they're nice as reinforcements, they're nice as harassment tools.
7 kills right now on that Raven. It's, however, hanging out in the bottom right-hand corner, and Astrea seems to be ready to go for a little attack. Always nice to have that unit in the fight as well, of course, as he's already starting up the +3. Those upgrades are so fast, man. Pretty insane.
No, that is a very big upgrade lead, and that's obviously one thing that Astrea did not have in that previous game. It was Spirit who had the upgrade lead for the majority of it, and it was a messy game where both players were basically only investing in attack upgrades and not armor, but I kind of feel that benefits the Terran a whole lot more than it benefits the Protoss, just because Terran units fire faster than Protoss units in general, so they will...
You have a load of them as well. Yeah, definitely helps out quite a bit when you have loads of small Marines all getting those upgrade advantages. That being said, nice spotting here once again by Astrea, man. Those spotter units that he's got out on the map have been really valuable.
If you look at the mini-map, we can kind of see some red dots everywhere, so Astrea is trying to get as much map vision for himself. I think this is kind of the moment that Astrea was waiting for. It's so hard to run into the super defensive 3-base Spirit, but the moment that Spirit is going to spread himself thin across 4 bases, Astrea will feel that he should make some magic happen. The Prism falls, but a couple of Zealots still make it into the main base to cause a little bit of chaos. Zealots on the left side, I actually think that Spirit can just fight that army, man. There's no need to run there. It's just a couple of Zealots. You've got more than enough bio units. But here comes the main force.
Yeah, especially with a Ghost right there in the mix, always nice to have. He's going to try and fight in this choke point regardless. The choke point that Spirit has created with his own structures. Not a whole lot of Zealots in the mix. Obviously, that Prism ended up going down earlier as well. So there's not a whole lot of ways that he can reinforce this. So I think he's mostly just testing the waters a little bit. Maybe try and get a juicy Purification Nova.
Those stims were big, by the way. Spirit needs to chill out a little bit because he didn't even have all that much medevac energy there. We're going to fire a couple of Novas, get 11 SCVs, and these Colossus, we can really see the power of the extended thermal lens. SCVs are lined up right now to go down. 2 Colossus. Archons has another good Nova lens, and Spirit is just in all sorts of trouble. He had a disastrous early game. Seems like we accidentally dropped an interference matrix on a Stalker. Yeah, that's the play, guys.
Now it can't blink. Easy. Those Zealots from earlier were, of course, supposed to harass the base all the way up north. Sadly for Astrea, he did not get that group in the position that he wanted it. Now, there is a medevac drop coming in the bottom right-hand corner. Maybe this can take out, well, what is the 5th base right here of Protoss.
Astrea could just recall a couple of units. He's maxed out, so he couldn't actually wipe anything in. But he's like, all right, if you're dropping me, you've got even less units at home. I believe that I can end this game here. Now, there's a lot of tanks there, and the disruptor control, not all that good. What should have been a great fight for Astrea turns into a bit of a horrific fight. fight. On top of that, he lost the base. I still think he's okay in this game, but he cannot do that again. He just lost multiple disruptors, 15 probes, a base, and he didn't do anything.
No, he was ready to end the game right then and there, but then the disruptors all went down for essentially free. Spirit in the meantime, by the way, happily expanding as well towards the top left corner. A little bit of harassment here again on the right side. That third base once more in a lot of trouble. Maybe he can snipe it this time, but no, Spirit is once again alive.
If Astrea would still have a prism there or just a pylon and a gateway to reinforce, I do believe that he would be able to end it. He's still in a perfectly fine spot, despite the fact that that was a very bad attack. He can afford it just because he created a massive advantage for himself. But now we can actually see that the units lost resource tap. The difference is only 400. I genuinely believe before that attack it was heavily in favor of Astrea, because he barely lost anything throughout the entirety of the game, and he was obviously mining a whole lot more too. He's still fine, but he needs to be careful, and we need to respect the tanks a little bit more.
Yeah, maybe a control group for the disruptor. Right? That would probably help as he once again blinks forward here to try and deal that damage here in the natural. Those siege tanks though, man, they are just shooting, and every time they fire, they seem to kill something. Those tanks in the back have been putting in a lot of value, and Astrea can't break that position.
Astrea needs to get a prism here if he wants to keep on running in range. Like, Zealots can be very good against tanks if they can actually get on top of them, but he just doesn't have a way to reinforce, and this is altitude. It's such a big map. We are now trying to get in range of this planetary fortress, but Spirit is there. He could maybe stim forward and tag that disruptor and pick it off, but he doesn't want to play the dangerous game. Astrea is still rich. He's transitioning into +1 air weapons, fleet beacon, couple of stargates, so we could get either Tempest or carriers. I think both are perfectly fine given the economies that we're working with. But I would just love to see a way to reinforce a little bit quicker on the other side of the map, because this map is so damn large.
Spirit has been forced to play a defensive game now for a while, but he seems to be okay, right? He's not nearly as rich as Astrea here. He doesn't have that much money in the bank, but he's close to maxing out, unless he loses another group of units here. He's relatively close to maxing out, and because of that, he can start saving up some money as well for when he needs to remax. Now, once again, we have that fight happening at the third command center. Command center is taking a lot of damage as well and may go down. In the meantime, though, there's a big counterattack. CC indeed falls, but at the cost of a Nexus and a whole lot of probes.
Yep, these probes are stuck, and these Marines and Marauders just going to town. A single gateway goes down. We're going to grab the pylon as well. Astrea sent a decent amount of units home. Nova connects in a pretty big way. This army is so overstimmed, and look at these medevacts. They're working overtime. That is a warping straight out of the cinematic of Legacy of the Void. There's a lot of Zealots go down. The medevacts tried to get the hell out of there, but a single one did go down, I believe, carrying some cargo. What is happening in the natural? Spirit did manage to clean that up in the end.
But the siege tanks moved back into the main base, and they were still piling on the pressure too. Astrea breaking that for just a moment in the picture-in-picture, but not enough.
Should have wiped in a couple stalkers there, man.
Yeah.
Instead of Zealots only. Astrea is still fine, but he's definitely making life very hard on himself. And Spirit obviously doesn't just have the base at 12 o'clock, he has taken the base at 10 o'clock as well. Both of them are planetaries, I believe. Both of them have a sensor tower to give him the heads up where the Protoss units are coming from. I mean, this is a monumental effort by Spirit.
Yeah, and as time goes by, that upgrade lead, right, that Astrea has been working off of basically this entire game, it is closing. +3 is the maximum upgrade you can get. Spirit is getting in that direction right now as well. He's mixing in a lot of ghosts, going for an additional starport here. He is ready to take on a Skytle's army as well, if that is what's coming out of Astrea next. He's got so many Zealots right now, man.
Yeah, I think we're looking at 25, 30 Zealots at this point. But it's so hard, 33 Zealots even. It's so hard for Zealots to find damage near planetaries, though. So basically, the only place they're going to find any success is here, and that's actually the place where Astrea has found most of his success with all the attacks. This triangle location, because that obviously wasn't a planetary, but once more, without a prism, it's just so hard to keep pushing.
This base has been under a lot of fire here for a long time, but it still seems to be okay. There's a couple of mineral fields remaining to mine here, so Spirit is going to keep trying. Okay, there's the Zealot run by, and he does get the planetary fortress, but at the cost of a lot of Zealots.
Yeah, but that was obviously great, because Zealots are not supposed to kill planetary, and that is destroying one of the most important bases of Spirit, as Astrea also seems to think there is a little opportunity to get on top of these tanks, and he got a few there. Needs to be careful, you don't want to lose all the rover units at once here, but Zealots killing a planetary is just not something that's supposed to happen. Was a bit sloppy by Spirit there, but obviously
what about another one?
No. No, I refuse to believe it, Loco.
If there's another planetary going on, okay, there's like 30 SCVs mining those minerals. There's a lot of repair potential. Well, one little Liberator gets, or actually 2 Liberators get quite a bit of damage done here as well. Now we have the Tempest transition coming up, but that takes a while, right? The Spirit is, yeah, definitely, he's got an opportunity here to get a little bit more adventurous.
If Spirit can somehow get a great engagement against these Disruptors and the Stalkers, then his army has crazy DPS, but he needs to avoid the Novas at all costs. And that's obviously something that he's aware of. Economically, we are looking at an Astrea advantage. I'm a bit surprised that Astrea feels that Tempest are a better choice here. I guess they can be pretty good defensive units, but he's going very heavy on Tempest Disruptor, which is great if he's got a lot of static defenses everywhere, but I don't think that's quite the case. It kind of just feels that both players are finding a lot of success with their drops and run-bys.
Okay, now he finally cleans up a couple of those tanks, though, and that is really nice. Those have been the bane of his existence for a long time. Zealots, however, not really in a direction where they can retreat, right? So he decides to run into the natural expansion. That drop over there gets cleaned up. Stalkers once again are ready to go after that command center for about the 17th time. Does get a bunch of SCVs, but now all of the Zealots are picked off.
He did kill it once, by the way. That's the command center from the main base that floated over.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He replaced it?
Yeah.
I see.
Stalkers blink forward. They grab a medevac as that Nova almost connects. Spirit obviously now working with pennies. We're looking at a 5-arrow advantage on the production tab. That's very big at the bottom side of our screen. What does it mean, guys? It just means that Astrea is mining a whole lot more than Spirit. 6 arrows is the max, and that's where the game just shuts down immediately. The game
you just win.
Yeah,
GG is just called for you. If
you're too rich, sir. You've won in Monopoly. Alright, so Astrea knows that all he needs to do is just defend and obviously prevent additional bases from Spirit going up.
Okay, Astrea transitioning towards all of the high-tech units that he can muster. Spirit still has a very scary army, however. He needs to get some damage with it done.
Man, being here in the center of the map is so risky. It's so unnecessary. Astrea does not need to be here.
No.
I know that it obviously makes...
I think he's just trying to slow it down, right?
Yeah, the Zealot run-by is a bit more potential, but this is actually a pretty fragile army. It's a very good Protoss army in slow fights. But if there is one big fight taking place right now with all these bio units stimming forward, if you make one mistake with your Disruptors, you could lose everything. The Tempest,
I kind of like the Stalker on the Watchtower providing vision right here for those Tempests to shoot at their maximum range. That is a cute little move, but certainly a risky position. He doesn't necessarily need to be there. Battery overcharge and all that can still be very helpful, and just giving yourself more time to prepare. Fight, however, is now going to go on the left side of the map. A couple of Dark Templar, though, in the meantime, also moving in.
Yep, seems like we had a couple of big EMPs landing on that Protoss army, but Spirit not with all of his bio units here. He is just not ready for DTs, and you can't blame him because Spirit has been behind for the longest time. He has been under a lot of fire. He's been losing SCVs non-stop for like 10-15 minutes straight. So he's not ready for these DTs, but he has actually taken the lead in the army supply. 125 against 108. There is honestly still hope here for Spirit. No matter how dire this game may look, there is still some hope. If he gets the Disruptors, there's even more hope. Some pretty good splits, and he gets a decent amount of them. He gets almost all of them, Loco. He gets all of them.
Yeah, he gets indeed all of the Disruptors. Recall does finish there, but at the cost of a lot of Terran's army as well, though. Yeah, he had that supply lead as far as the army goes. Right now, that has mostly been evened up, and immediately Astrea fires up new Disruptors because he knows that those are his lifeline in those battles.
Bio units still a bit overstimmed. We're just making a lot of Marines and Marauders at this point. Obviously, these units are somewhat cheap. They still have some potential. Astrea will just be like, whoa, that was kind of scary. Let's just hope that my Dark Templars can keep you busy.
Yeah.
And we are looking still at a massive income advantage for Astrea. So
he doesn't have a lot of gas anymore, though.
Nope.
That is going to make things a little painful. Yeah, he's not mining the gases on some of his outer bases.
Did you see that oversaturation of the Century, by the way? Can we take another look at that base?
55 probes out of 14.
We don't mind drop that.
A couple of them are long distance mining as well, it seems. Anyways, he's going to try his best to maybe try and connect right there with the Purification Nova as the Dark Templar do get cleaned up.
Yeah. Obviously, the Colossus are super important here again for Astrea, because Spirit has lost all of his Vikings, and he simply doesn't have the money anymore to remake those Vikings. The tank count has been pretty much completely reset as well.
Yeah.
The Astrea is, in the end, I think, playing this out right now in a marvelous
Scary game, though, still, right? I mean, he's been ahead for 17 minutes, it seems, and he's had a very hard time trying to close this one out.
Yeah, this is a big map, so there's definitely potential for a beautiful 360 Terran surround, couple of EMPs. As we have more Zealots just right-clicking. Instead of going for SCVs, he's going to try to slap down this orbital. That's obviously not something that's supposed to happen. gave Spirit the heads up to send over a couple of buy units, but here is that Protoss army, and I love the way that Astrea is using these disruptors to just zone out these Terran forces.
Well, almost not even zoning out anymore. I think he could have gotten that entire clump if he wasn't just trying to keep his opponent's units back. Astrea trying to, well, shut down that only mining base right here for Spirit, right? His income is not impressive whatsoever. So Spirit essentially has to win this game with the army that he's got right now, but I think I favor Astrea's army by a mile.
Yep, especially if the Colossus can just gun down these Marines, and there are 36 Marines in the mix, and these two Colossus should have a field day against them. On top of that, Spirit doesn't even have +3 armor, he just didn't have the money for it. Goals are right now getting picked up left, right, and center, and these are most likely the final moments of LT2. A 22-minute fantastic game. Spirit's gonna try one more time to get on top of this Protoss army, and he's gonna find a Disruptor, but it's just not enough. The numbers don't lie. Zealots are having a party in the old natural of the Terran. Can't really call it a natural anymore. There isn't really a whole lot left that indicates that was ever a natural.
Yeah, there's just a couple structures, I guess, remaining in the main base, but no command center in that location anymore either. Gonna YOLO in the Zealots on the planetary fortress. I guess that's one way to give your opponent a small little gift, but I think the game will be decided when this fight happens here. Spirit stimps up the ramp. Okay, he grabs one of the disruptors. Not a bad start. Splitting up his units as well to go after that Nexus. Where's the army of Astrea?
It's coming in from the top left, slowly but steady. Zealot's getting a couple of hits off there. Two Nexi do fall, but Stalks can blink forward, snipe these medevacs, and all of these units that Astrea is picking up will not be remade. The Colossus control there, not perfect.
I don't like this fight at all for Astrea, but he just has so much.
Yeah, it's still okay. It was a bit sloppy there, but it's okay, especially with the amount of damage that he's finding on the other
Nexus
as well. Spirit is really going full fantasy on us over here. He's got 11 SCVs, a 58 army supply, and he's like, well, it's the Intel Extreme Masters got beats after all. I'm gonna fight till the bitter end, but this was the bitter end. GG. A 3-game series to start off the 3rd day here at IEM. And I honestly think this is something a lot of us expected. But Astrea and Spirit, they're both in shape. I think they're both evenly matched.
Yeah, Showtime and Reina are apparently also in Game 3 right now. Not entirely sure what went down in that particular series, but apparently we are starting the day off strong. Keep in mind that for both of these players, it's very important they win this series. This is a difficult group. It's going to be difficult to move on out of this group regardless, but you really need to obtain the victory against, I don't want to call them lesser, strong players than the weaker players in the group, but when you have guys like, for example, Reina, right? Which both of them have already faced off against, but you really do need to make sure you obtain the victory in matches like these.
Yep. The loser of this series is not necessarily eliminated, because we have seen it in the previous years that you can actually advance to the next round with 2 wins and 3 losses in best of 3s. But then obviously your wins need to be 2 L's and your losses need to be 1 and 2. But obviously a win here would be massive for both either Spirit or Astrea, since both of them started the day 1 and 4 in maps, 0 and 2 in best of 3s. It seems that Spirit wants to take a little break. He's actually someone who does this very often, and he was talking to me about this yesterday. He's like, hey Roddy, it's so unfair, man. I'm only allowed to have like a single 2-minute break per best of 3. I'm like, I mean, that seems reasonable. He's like, no, it's not, because they also tell me to be like on location 5 minutes in advance, so then I'm already having 5 extra minutes before I can actually take my 2-minute break. He's like, I think it's messed up. What do you think? I was like, I don't know. I feel like a single 2-minute break per player per best of 3, it seemed reasonable.
To be fair, the average Spirit game is probably like 35 minutes, right? Like there are some very long Spirit matches out there, so maybe in his mind, yeah, best of 3. We usually calculate like 45 minutes or so, maybe an hour. Maybe in his mind it's closer to 2 hours. Can be a little bit frustrating, but yeah, he does get a little bit of a break right here. Obviously, that can help a lot.
Yep, it seems that we are going to go ahead and take a little break as well. So we're going to toss it to a break, and after that we'll be back with Game 3 between Astrea and Spirit. We'll see you guys soon.
It's a bird. It's a Superman. No, it's a drone.
Welcome to Katowice, city of 300,000 inhabitants. The capital of esports, where the Intel Extreme Masters takes place.
Gotta say, Roddy, those drone shots look amazing. The ones that we've got this year right here flying around the buildings in Katowice looks insane.
Was it recorded this year though, or is it footage from previous years?
I don't know. I wasn't here last year.
No,
but from what I heard, apparently there's a ton of construction going on, and the city looks different every year.
I've seen some drones flying around. ESL always does a great job in just giving us some cool B-roll. But obviously, in the end of the day, for all of us nerds, it's about these guys putting on a great show. And the games over the past few days, and so far today, really have been excellent. It's just that magic of the World Championships in the air. You can see these guys really battling it out all the way till the end. No matter how bad the start may be, they still try to make it a game. And I gotta say, for the disastrous start that Spirit had in that previous game, he did a great job in giving us a lot of exciting moments on altitude.
Alrighty, our final game in this best-of-3 series. We find ourselves on the map Royal Blood. Spotting right here in the top right-hand corner from the United States, we have Astrea.
Big game for Max Angel, 0-2 in the group. So is this man, so it's a very big game for him as well. Hailing from Poland, representing Kaisi Gaming, this is Spirit.
Today we also have an audience that you may have already heard on the live stream. Always amazing to see all of the StarCraft fans coming out as well to watch StarCraft 2 live. Yeah, look, there's already quite a few people hanging out. Obviously, this is only the very start of the day, but also of the tournament stage.
I know a lot of
right?
passionate nerds that are arriving today. I see pictures in the Discord of people on trains,
on Twitter,
cars,
Reddit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's really cool. Obviously, we are going to try to make this one big StarCraft 2 party. I know we've had a Barcraft as well in the previous days here in Katowice. So even if you don't have a ticket to attend the event, you can still have a good time and meet some fellow SC2 nerds in one of the Barcrafts around the city. I would almost say it sucks that we can't be there local, but we'd be lying because it's pretty damn awesome to stand here and talk about video games. But I obviously hope all of you guys out there have a lot of fun.
I believe pretty much all of the pro players and pretty much all of the casters are doing a signing session as well. So if you are at the venue this time around, you should definitely come say hi when Rotterdam is there, right? When I saw even a couple of signs of, well, both Tasteless and Artosis apparently doing one later this week. Very excited about that.
I don't know, man. Signing sessions are very scary. Imagine if you're sitting next to Simple, there's like 70 people lined up.
You just awkwardly leave.
Yeah. And then you meet like one of your old friends, and you're like, hey, man. So I don't know, but yes, it is happening, and it's obviously a very cool opportunity for people that attend the event to have a little interaction with their favorite pros or casters. But enough about that. Let's go ahead and talk about this TVP, because it's a very important one here on the Royal Blood. We've got a Nexus close to finishing up. We've got Spirit obviously slapping down the factory, so we don't see anything crazy like the Trirex, but we do have a Zealot marching to the other side of the map. And I don't want to say that is crazy, but it's also not ultra standard. What Astrea is hoping for is to get this SCV, and Spirit is obviously going to do his best to prevent that from happening.
Yeah, the Zealot is just marching across just to try and slice up that one worker that's building the command center. Keep in mind, you really need to finish that CC to hit, well, not a supply block, right? It's really critical that you finish it. So already a new supply depot starts up right here for Spirit, trying to prevent that.
It's actually pretty bad for Spirit, man, because like Marines and Hellions are not fantastic against Adapts. So if you look at the minimap, we can see that Adapt number 2 is well on its way. Every single hit that these Adapts are going to get off, this is painful, man, because Spirit thinks that he's done, but here comes that second Adapt. The Zealot may not have that much micro potential, but the Adapts absolutely do. Astrea is off to a flying start there, and Spirit is going to be very sad about the fact that he did not open up with a Reaper.
Good shuffling right there on that one Hellion at the very least, trying to keep it alive for as long as possible, but now you have to spend money to try and keep it, well, repair it up. Going to be able to finish that command center on the low ground eventually, but Astrea, a relatively small commitment, is getting a lot of value out of these units. At least he got that without losing any additional units.
Yep, nice micro there by Spirit, actually, and I think Astrea got a little bit unfortunate not being able to get that single Marine. Now another Adept is going to show up and knows that there are a couple of low HP units out there, but you don't want to take that fight. We have a medevac, we have a couple of Widow Mines, and now I just wonder, is it going to be an armory once more? Because we know that Spirit loves the armory Widow Mine drops probably more than any other high-level Terran player in the scene. But so far, no armory, so it's just a regular Widow Mine drop. Obviously, combined with a couple of Marines.
Yeah, he's going to be sending that one straight across the map. In the meantime, Astrea has been transitioning towards his beloved Blink upgrade. He's going to be finishing that up momentarily.
I do want to mention that Astrea right now has 6 army supply, and one of the units, so 2 army supplies on the other side of the map. The adept gets into the main base. This may seem cool, but these 4 Marines and 2 Widow Mines actually have a lot of potential, because 2 Stalkers don't win the fight against 4 Marines and medevac support. Astrea did not expect this to be Marines and Widow Mines, even though that Widow Mine did a lot of friendly fire, killed one of the Marines, and actually softened up the medevac a little bit too. It's a shame for Spirit, as I think he was busy dealing with an adept on the other side of the map. This drop, Loco, had a lot more potential than what Spirit got out of it.
Yeah, for a second I thought he was accidentally going to lose the medevac as well. That would have been an absolute disaster. A lot of lost mining time at the very least, so maybe that will make things somewhat okay here for Spirit. But considering that was, well, essentially just, I think, 2 units, right, inside of the main base. Literally 6 army supply in total. Maybe this medevac drop over here can get something done. Widow Mine unloads first. The medevac getting targeted down as well. Good reaction right here, though, from our Proto.
Nice retargeting on the Widow Mine. In the end, the Widow Mine will just settle for those 2 probe kills, but the drop in the main base is going to show up one more time as well. And even if these Marines don't have stim, they still find a couple of probes, make it another one more lost mining time. All of this is adding up. Nice target fire there by Spirit as well. There were 20 probes or so standing there not doing anything, and he finds the 1 probe that was low on HP. And this should have been better for Astrea than it really is, man. He's got a 2 worker advantage. Not loving that. There is no Quick Forge. There is no Robo Bay. Not the hottest start for a Protoss player in a very, very important game 3 for both these guys.
At least he cleaned up both of those drops, so at the very least he's now got the option to go across the map if he wants to. Not a whole lot of harassment potential right here for Spirit, other than once again that Raven that he seems to be very fond of.
But I like it a lot more in this game, right? Because if you look at the work counts now, it's 51 probes. That's really not the greatest.
There's no units here.
This truly hurts. This is not a 4-base Protoss with 70+ workers. No, this is a 2.5-base Protoss with 50-ish workers. So if you then find a couple probes with the other turret, that's obviously a lot more impactful than it was in the previous game.
Follow-up right here from Astrea is going to be High Templar, probably into Archons, and then a couple of Speed Lots as well. Those Zealots are going to be coming out very soon.
Could be Quick Storm as well, huh?
Yeah, maybe that's what he's going to do. If he wants to go for an all-out push, it is an option, but...
Even defensively against heavy Marine pushes can be good, and it is indeed going to be super Quick Storm. He's going to Chrono Boost it immediately, 6 minutes and 45 seconds into this game. Spirit has a Liberator going for a little adventure towards the top left, but...
Grabbing this one for free would be nice for Astrea, right? But yeah, Spirit paying attention there, only allowing 1 volley of shots.
Just not taking any more damage is already very nice here for Astrea, because he just needs to get a better economy, because he doesn't have the greatest tech. Having Storm is going to be good, but Storm is obviously awesome if it's like just Marines, but it won't just be Marines, because Spirit is already going up to 3 bases. He's becoming pretty Marauder heavy, and I think it's just a matter of time before we see the Ghost Academy go down.
There's a command center flying on over towards that 3rd base location. Spirit is going to be pumping up his own economy very shortly as well, as he is ready to go for an attack here momentarily with Stimpak, Combat Shields, 1-1 finishing up all around, well, roughly around the same time, at the very least a 1-1. Can use that to his advantage if he wants to. At least he finds that one Observer. That's always nice.
Yep. Yeah, good eye. Very important. They're fat right now though, Loco. Come on now. They've been nerfed. The Observers are fat.
Oh yeah, no, they were not as fat as they once were, right? Like when the patch first got announced, I think the number got reduced ever so slightly. I honestly can't tell the difference. I looked at them. If nobody told me, I probably wouldn't have noticed.
They're fat, man.
Yeah?
Yeah.
They're slightly faster though to make up for it.
I know, that part is awesome. Alright, Warp Prism is going to warp in a couple of additional High Templars. I do believe we already have some Storm to work with hiding inside of this Warp Prism, but that's a lot of probes falling. Double Auto Turret and the Liberator. And that's a very sweet little wombo combo. A single Stalker does not win that fight, Astrea. I don't even think 2 Stalkers win that fight. We've got Widow Mine drops now as well, heading to the natural. Armory is done, Loco, so we need an Observer here. He doesn't have an Observer. This is fantastic for Spirit.
Yeah, he ends up killing 13 probes right there in one go, and this is absolutely critical. He canceled the 1 Stalker there, or sorry, the 1 Structure there to get the Stalkers a little bit closer. 13 probes though, and those Widow Mines are not cleaned up yet.
This attack right now becomes very important for Astrea, but Spirit knows
He's
that.
already left.
Yep, Spirit's like, I've done so much damage, and obviously I don't see any units at home. This means that you are attacking me, but there's no way that you can do as much damage as I just did to you if I just pull away the SCVs temporarily and get a slightly bigger army on 3 bases. I love these calls of Spirit, man. You can really see the experience kicking in right now. The man is a veteran, does eat 1 big storm, but taking damage and not losing units is not that big of a deal. This double drop local has crazy potential, and I really hope for Astrea that he's got a recall or that these units are going to make it home in time, because Astrea is in some trouble here in game 3.
Okay, he's coming in right here. That High Templar does not have enough energy for a storm. Spirit at this point must realize it, but he decides to pick up. So at least he got something done. Well, there's a big SCV drop over there, or a High Templar drop.
Yeah, that's 15 SCVs. That's massive. I have no idea why Spirit was so worried about 4 Zealots and High Templar there that didn't even have Storm. Spirit could have won that fight in the top left if he was paying attention, but he was distracted. So Astrea gets a point on the board with the Storm drops. I mean, you can really see that these guys are going for it. They're swinging for the fences at this point, and both of them are having great moves and questionable moves.
Yeah, this is reminding me a little bit of game number 1 between these two, right? A very scrappy game as well, where we had constant back and forths. Spirit just now in a fantastic position. Now he lost a big chunk of his economy, maybe not paying attention perfectly everywhere. I know, crazy. And yeah, now he's not in the... Well, he's still in a good spot, but not in the most beautiful position anymore.
We're carrying a lot of fire units in these medevacks. Unload, Spirit. You can really see that the pressure is getting the best of him there. Okay, he's going to send them into the main base right now. That's obviously a play too. Widow Mines are great against Zealots, but Zealots are great against SCVs. This game is heating up. This is crazy. Such an important one. Is Astrea going to improve his record to 1 and 2, or will it be Spirit? I have the feeling, Loco, that we're going to find out in the near future.
Yeah.
Supplies are honestly still very close.
Zealots have been killing a ton of those SCVs for a while now. These bad boys come from the 3rd base of the Terran player, which, well, they've basically cleaned up. Once again, though, this big fight over here at the front is very critical. How many High Templar are there still? Just 2? No, 3. Okay.
A couple of EMPs are in the mix. Zealots in the main base will finally get cleaned up. Astrea is very Zealot heavy still. He's got 16 Zealots. Doesn't have too many observers by the looks of it, so dealing with all these Widow Mines is hard. Spirit setting up a Doom drop. He is flying into the main base with a ridiculous amount of Terran supply, and this is a nightmare to run into as a Protoss player. Of course, Storms have a lot of potential, and extended thermal lens if it was done, but it's not quite done yet. Like, if I was Spirit, I would just kind of try to pick up as many units as possible 1 by 1 here, as the floodgates have opened and Storms are very big. But obviously there was a lot of economic damage as well. This game is wild, man. What a first best of 3 of the day.
Yeah.
Spirit is also hitting the base in the top left.
Yeah, indeed. The Raven from earlier still getting some damage done. A recall, though, does bring a couple of the units right here, and he kills the Colossus. Was that a Widow Mine underneath?
There are 3 Widow Mines, and 2 of them, I think, fired at the High Templars and the Colossus. So the Colossus goes down to Widow Mines and then High Templar as well, and the other one took a lot of damage. I think Spirit really got the best of all of this. It may seem that Spirit is in trouble because he's 17 workers down, but he's got a bigger army, a better army with more micro potential, and on top of that, Astrea lost his main base. So he's basically mining off 2 bases, but one of these bases is not even defended, and there are still Widow Mines in the mix.
Yeah, Spirit's economy is not looking all too hot either, but he's dealing a ton of damage on the other side of the map. Medevacs in the meantime do manage to get out on the right side as well. That is very important to keep as many of those units alive.
Okay, we have an orbital, right? This is floating over. For a split second,
like
I'm missing a square, but yes, the orbital just floated over. He may not have that many SCVs, but as long as he's got triple orbital, Spirit is totally fine. 3 mules, we all live in a yellow submarine, Loco.
Yeah.
He's going to be fine.
Mules are going to be pretty good when it comes to bringing back those minerals. Both players apparently taking a moment to breathe, which can be kind of nice.
Triple prison. That's when you know that these guys are feeling the pressure of the moment. They know how important this series is. We've seen Spirit have obviously like 1 or 2 questionable calls. Astrea's not supposed to have 3 War Prisms here.
So when do you get the ranged upgrade for the Colossus now?
He has it already.
Oh, he's got it finished right now?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought in the previous battle he just... Okay.
It was almost done when the big drop was happening in the main base. Spirit is going to find 1 of the War Prisms. There are 2 additional Prisms though, but at this point it's not about the War Prisms. It's about the army. Astrea needs to buy time and land great storms. I have no idea if he's going to be able to do that. It really comes down to how well Spirit is going to control the Ghost. But this Terran army is big, it's feisty, it has a lot of DPS, and I'm loving these storms from Spirit. Yesterday we saw Big Game with some of the best scans in the game, and that was a very good scan as well.
One of the prisms just ended up going down here, but the Terran army is in a pretty dang good position.
The EMPs on the High Templars there. These High Templars were pretty much the only hope that Astrea really had before the Colossus showed up. This Colossus does show up, but I just don't think there is enough HP in this Protoss army. The Stalkers are on half HP, the Colossus is almost going down, and it seems that this Nexus will most likely go down. Spirit keeps on accidentally picking up units in medevacs, but despite all of that, I still think he's fine, Loco, even though the supplies are awfully close.
Yeah, he gets out just before the High Templar could start landing another storm right here on that Terran army, and killing that Nexus is very nice. He's going to immediately replace it. Now, the other Nexus will have finished up by now, but not the greatest economy here. Man, what a banger of a game again.
Yeah, Spirit obviously has lost a lot of potential DPS in some of these fights by accidentally picking up full medevacs. Like, it's 8 Marines, or 6 Marines and a Marauder. He would have been able to get the job done a couple of times a lot quicker if he wouldn't have done that. And this obviously still gives Astrea a lot of hope. And if he can slowly but steadily rebuild the Colossus count, I mean, he's still up 7 workers. He's got +2 ground weapons for these Colossus. Yeah, Astrea is still in it, even though I favor Spirit's position.
Medevac drop heading on over towards the top left-hand corner. Finds that Nexus that Astrea is trying to almost hide here, all the way in the top left. Gonna force to cancel that one right from the get-go. Prism in the bottom left.
What a great series, man.
Yeah,
such an important one as well, obviously, because the winner can still dream about making it into the playoffs of the World Championship. For whoever loses here, it's not 100% over, but it's 95% plus over. They know it, and that's why they are battling and pulling out all the stops. Astrea is going to try to take out the Ghost Academy, not a building that you can easily snipe, as it has a buttload of HP, but he actually gets it, and that obviously makes future High Templars a lot more dangerous.
Colossus coming out of the Robo facility here again as well, as Astrea tries to increase his production, but that's really the only units that he's capable of producing here, it seems.
And Spirit still doesn't have +2, right when I mentioned that, he fires +2 up. Viking, can it get the Prism? I think eventually the Marines and the Vikings will, but not before the Zealots were unloaded into the main base one more time. Oh, Widowmine drop has a lot of potential. That's minus 12 probes, and
there's
we're gonna fire one more time, so 13 probes in the end. Can we take a look at the amount of workers that have died in this 16-minute game real quick? 69 probes, of course, and 47 SCVs.
That's still 51 versus 51 as well, right? Big storm right here on the right side, though, as those Ghosts and Marauders get softened up a little bit. I think 1 or 2 High Templar did end up going down there as well. Once again, good storm right there by our Protoss player, but can't really commit too heavily here.
No, because we went from 3 prisms to 0. The Widowmines are going to fire one more time, and that is 9 additional probes going down. We went from triple prism to 0 prism. He has now remade one, so we are back up to 1. But yeah, being with an important army like this in the bottom left side without a way to reinforce is very risky. But Astrea seems to be getting more and more confident. I think especially after picking up that Ghost Academy, he's like, hey man, I've got Colossus, I've got High Templars, and I don't see that many Vikings, and I don't see that many Ghosts. So I guess he has all the right reasons to be confident at this point.
Yeah, marching across the map once again. Now he's getting close to the opponent's natural. Is he going to keep this Prism alive? He will, as it heads on over towards the main base of the Terran player. The High Templars trailing pretty far behind, but at least they get here in time. Can do another Zealot Warping in the main base to create a lot of distraction right here. And the Command Center, well, you should definitely finish that one up. There you go, it goes down.
Astrea's picking Spirit apart at this point. Yes, there are more Zealots running into this base at 9 o'clock, and the Terran army is terribly out of position. I think Spirit right now has seen enough. I think he's going to give up. He's going to try to end this game. This is it, man. Tournament Live on the line with this attack. Can this 127 army supply of Terran make a difference and still steal this game from Astrea? Because at this point, Astrea's found a lot of damage, and all that Astrea needs to do is survive, defend one more time. But can he do it?
Yeah, there's still Zealots going to town on the other side of the map as well to be as obnoxious as possible. That Prism is still alive too, so Astrea can continuously harass if he wants to. One Nexus here is not going to cut it. Spirit needs to get more done.
Yep, this army is terrifying them, but he's got a lot of army supply now at home, and I think he wants to just take care of that Prism.
Okay, yeah, he took care of the Prism, I guess, and now he's going to reinforce with everything that he's... Well, no, the Prism is still there.
62 workers against 27, but Spirit still feels confident in the mules, and he just wants to get the best possible fight. Did rebuild the Ghost Academy, by the way, in a very funny spot. There's a good chance goes down. Big storms on the top side of our screen as another one does land, but there is also a lot of storm energy being used, and Spirit maintains a 40 army supply advantage. This game is bananas.
Yeah, Astrea has more income here, but I mean, he's got more workers. His income is actually not that amazing because a lot of them are long-distance mining, because so many of those Nexi have gone down. He's going to try and build another one all the way in the top left-hand corner. These guys accidentally becoming next-door neighbors here.
It is kind of smart what Spirit is doing now as well, as he still has that Viking, just one more hit, and he gets this War Prism. That's a War Prism number 4 or 5 that has gone down throughout the entirety of this game. But yeah, obviously, Astrea can have all the probes in the world. If he doesn't have any mineral patches to put them on, it doesn't really matter. Then this base is actually a lot more important. Spirit feels that this is a fight that he can take as he comes in from different angles, lands some nice EMPs on the bottom side of our screen. There are flanking units everywhere. Will we see some big storms? I think that's a very good one. And there is still a Disruptor waiting to land a big shot. And look at these Colossi hiding loco.
Yeah, no sentries in this army right here, so he's going to have to take the fight right now as well. The Colossus, though, dealing so much damage from a distance. The vast majority of the Protoss units have gone down, and that army supply advantage the Spirit has had for a long time now, finally it's being used.
It's still there, but a lot of these bio units are low on HP, and these Manavacs are working overtime. Astrea is going to have to cancel this Nexus. Snipes a Viking there. Astrea can still do this, even though he's down 42 army supply. There is still hope. All it takes is 1 or 2 big storms, 1 Nova, or perhaps a shield battery with these Colossus. What an absolutely fantastic game here between Astrea and Spirit. I don't think there is a better way to kick off the third day than this best of 3.
2 more Nexi end up going down. The probe count has been fantastic, but like you pointed out, there's just no mineral fields for those workers to properly mine. So Astrea's economy, should have been a little bit better than this. He goes for another Nexus right there on the right side as he's desperately trying to produce an army. A couple of Zealots here, being annoying once again. Not a whole lot available here for the Terran to defend, so he's going to have to bring a lot of his army back.
Wow, that's wild. Even though it's just a couple of Zealots, it obviously pulls the Terran army back. Every second that goes by means that these High Templars gather up more and more energy. Astrea really needs to split them a bit better, by the way. The EMPs have been connecting in a big way. Here we do land a storm. That's a fantastic storm, as it softens up some of the bio, kills a Viking. And a Viking is an expensive unit if you have 21 SCVs.
Just telling them to back off right now. You don't get to fight me just yet. More and more Zealots being warped in as well. He's been getting a lot of value out of them, actually, in this particular series.
You know that these two guys are pushing each other to the limit, and there's been a lot of trading blows. If after 22 minutes, the only upgrade Astrea has is +2, Spirit is 2-1, you know? Where's the 3-3-3-3-3 we normally see at this point? It just goes to show how much trading we have been doing from both sides in this game.
The Disruptor seemingly randomly positioned right there on the left side. I mean, he may accidentally have misrallied it, but obviously it can deal a lot of damage as well.
From both sides, that Nova could have fired so much earlier.
Yep.
Spirit didn't see it, Astrea didn't see it. In the end, Spirit does pick it off. Loses a few more SCVs, but is able to take care of these Zealots. He knows about that base on 3 o'clock. That's a very important one. As Astrea is now even going to try to take the gold on the safer but wrong side.
Yeah, he's taking it on the wrong side. We've seen a couple of players, like for example Haas, right, mess around with that quite a bit, unsurprisingly maybe. He really needs to get a place for those workers to mine, right? So he's been taking Nexi all over the map. Really good denial. Okay, gets one of the High Templar here. We've seen a couple of free units. Now once again, Storms are going to make it very difficult to engage, but Spirit is going to push through.
Yep, there is a little cooldown sometimes on Storm, so you can't just spam them non-stop. And the Storms were good, but I don't know if they were good enough. And I don't see a shield battery here either. Spirit with a beautiful engagement. Now he can go for it. He can absolutely get on top of the Nexus, but he's worried. He wants to heal up a little bit on these bio units, but I think that fight local was good enough. Astrea right now should not have time to rebuild 7 or 8 High Templars. Stalkers alone with only +2 won't get the job done. Even if we have another tiny Zealot run by, I don't see how Astrea can ever clean up this Terran army. It seems that the man who got the job done in the round of 36, made it all the way through that grueling first day, is gonna get his first win in the group stage here, because I don't see how Astrea cleans up this army of Spirit.
Yeah, and playing some fantastic StarCraft 2 in the process as well. Some of the most entertaining games that we've seen over the last couple of months. Spirit playing like an absolute champion here. He hasn't won this game just yet.
Yep.
He, of course, is a little bit concerned for, well, a bunch more High Templar, maybe a couple Disruptors, which is probably why he didn't commit more aggressively right there in that fight.
All the probes are here, and Spirit is about to find this base. 31 probes. That is like 95% of the amount of probes that Astrea has left. This Nexus will get picked off. And look at the bank, by the way. There's not even enough money to rebuild the Nexus anymore. And these probes nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Spirit is going to grab each and every single worker that was ever at that gold base. And Astrea knows that he needs to pull off a miracle with one Immortal, one Colossus, and a bunch of Blinky boys.
Yeah, don't forget about the Zealots. They can be quite nice as well, but EMPs are ready to land on them. Now it's Astrea who has to put all of his eggs in one basket. He's got a sizable army, but it's just not big enough. Spirit has so many units available, and since there's not really a whole lot of splash damage in this Protoss army, he doesn't have to be too scared. He can aggressively chase his army as well. There's no Disruptors, there's no High Templar, so what in the world do you do here?
Spirit just needs to make sure that he doesn't accidentally...
You pull those 3 probes, right? That's what you do.
Yeah, they're in the mix, mate. They're fighting. The probes are here, ready to make the difference. All that Spirit needs to do is make sure that he doesn't get too happy on that stim button.
There's the reinforcements coming in from the top side of the screen. There's no way that is going to be enough, though. Spirit, I mean, he's trying, right? Astrea, that is, but Spirit has a very huge army. And there it is. GG is called. Spirit wins the first series of the day in a spectacular way.
Absolutely, man. A super scrappy, messy, but very fun